Hey everyone, welcome to Shred Sessions. This is a very special episode. I have, this man needs no introduction, obviously, but I have not only one of the goats of guitar, my old teacher, the Shred Lord himself, Joe Stump, is in the house with us tonight.
Woo! On behalf of the entire Shred community, Joe, I just want to say thank you for coming on Shred Sessions. It's an honor to have you here.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, I'm
yeah.
happy to talk, I love guitar. I'm happy to talk guitar anytime, You don't have to twist my arm. So, I still,
love it,
I still love it. And I saw some clips of some of the stuff you guys done. Very cool.
Thank you, man.
So, it's going to be awesome.
You're the man.
We're just going after the heavy hitters here on the show. We're going after the real shredders.
That's very sad when I'm one of them,
No, it's not,
no,
dude.
man.
I always think it's better to be somewhat modest about where you are in the pecking order. So I'm always grateful for my modest level of success, as I said.
Killing it, man.
Well, you have an amazing career, man, and we're going to talk about that today. But I think Christian maybe has some opening questions for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, Joe, first of all, let's just kick this off. What are you up to recently? You're about to release something, correct? Talk about that.
Okay, I got a new record coming out in October. New solo record.
Okay.
New solo instrumental record. And I'm on, my last few records, I want to say the last, let me see. I don't know how many, I start to lose count, but I've been with Lion Music out of Finland since 2004. So they did Speedman Messiah, Virtuosic Vendetta, Revenge of the Shred Lord, The Dark Lord Rises, Symphonic Onslaught, and Diabolical Ferocity. That's all the ones I did with those dudes. So that's since 2004. Now I'm on a new label, Silver Lining Music, which is a much larger label. Like Silver Lining's like a pretty, a legit record. Not that Lion wasn't legit, but Silver Lining's a much bigger label. They have Saxon, they have Europe, they have, like a bunch of larger metal bands and stuff. And for a period of time, Alcatraz was on Silver Lining, but we're not anymore. We parted ways with them. But they put out, I have a band, Joe Stump's Tower of Babel, which is a very cool record. The name of the record's Days of Thunder. And all killer players, they're all European dudes. I'm the only American in the band. And it's very, what is it like? It's like Rainbow and Deep Purple on steroids. So it's really, really good. So anybody likes that kind of stuff, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And all killer players, like the drummer Mark Cross, he's a powerhouse. He did a stint with Firewind, did some subbing with the Scorpions, played with Halloween for a while. Maestro Mysteria, he's a monstrous keyboard player. He plays with Bruce Dickinson now in Bruce Dickinson's solo thing. And
Cool.
Nick Angeleri's the bass player. We did a stint with Lorne Land, but he's also like a concert master. So he plays upright, plays classical, plays jazz, jazz and fusion shows over in Europe. And the singer is Joe Amori. He's from this band, King Crown, but they call him the French Dio. And pretty much, what does he sound like? The French Dio. You know what I mean? Yeah. Looks a little like Ronnie did, and sounds killer. So that's a great record. But anyway, my new solo record is Lord of the Strings. I'm running out of badass titles at this point. So I'm like, Lord, Lord of the Strings. Where did I get that from? Obviously, I never even saw any of the Lord of the Rings.
Come on.
I haven't. I'm like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I haven't seen anything yet, So it's very. But no, I got it from I was doing a tour in Mexico when they were selling Joe Stump shirts, and that was on the back. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of catchy. I'll use that.
That's cool, man. And what is this one, differing or in comparison to Tower of Babel? What is your solo record? Is there some more differentiation in the stylistic?
Yeah, there's a massive difference because Tower of Babel is much in the last Tower of Babel record is very much in the Rainbow Deep Purple mold. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I'm doing the Bionic Blackmore thing. And my tones like more mid-rangey, more mid-rangey, a bit less gainy, and for me, I'm showing like some, really channeling Richie and like kind of showing some restraint, and it's like, and of course, is there shredding? Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of really nice, nice Blackmore inspired phrasing and playing on it. And then my solo stuff is just all like, all balls out, all out warfare, shred action. I mean, it's a really cool musical record. Do I have like the fast double bass tunes? Yes, of course. But I mean, I also have a really nice ballad. I also have, I have like a one piece, that's like a nylon string thing. Then it goes into, it goes into a Spanish Phrygian or double harmonic major, the Byzantine, as I like to call it, fifth mode of Hungarian minor. Of course, the Byzantine's on there. It's on all my records, Hungarian minor and all that. And then I have, and what else do I have on there? And some straight up metal stuff. But it's really good. Like the melodies are really strong. A lot of really cool, badass riffs. Of course, all the shredding stuff, but the stuff that makes that stuff, more musical sounding is when you surround it with riffs and melodies and everything. So it's a real strong record. I made it. I was on sabbatical from Berkeley. Sabbaticals where you take a full semester off and they pay you, but you kind of have to have a project. So I did this in spring of. I did this starting in January of last year, 2025.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so it was cool. That was my, so it was great. I didn't have to go to work. Getting paid, didn't have to go to work. I'm all in on that. And all I did was wake up, practice a few hours, and then start to record. And it came out quite good. You know what I mean? I'm really pleased with it. It probably definitely my best, my best record to date.
Wow.
But because I'm always trying to step up my game, and I still play all the time. I still practice all the time. I'm still on it. I still enjoy it too. I love to play. And I love to practice, and what was I going to say? And some killer tones and everything, and it's also got. But all of my solo records are like a mix. Do I have some of the neoclassical stuff? Yeah, but then I also have, and do I have some of the Blackmore induced stuff? Yes, but do I also have some stuff where like I got some some riffs that could be like more traditional metal or European power metal. Or I have this one tune and it's got like a black metal section with tremolo picking and like and really dark evil string patches and stuff. So it runs the full, like all the different types of metal I like. I just I mix it all up and so if you're a metal enthusiast and if you like guitar, it's a badass record. And the new single comes out on Monday.
Oh, that's
amazing,
huge, man.
Yeah,
no, Tuesday. Great. I'm sorry. It comes out on Tuesday. The name of the track is Full Throttle. And of course, because what somebody said to me, hey, Joe, don't you have a track called Full Throttle? And I said, no. And well, I guess sounds like you should, you know what I mean? But it's like a fast double bass tune, like a little under 150, so you got a lot of, fast sextuplet action at 150 for those of you scoring at home. Some
that's fast, man.
Stuff. And it's got like a bunch of cool sections, really cool opening riff, and all of the shred food groups, or many of them are represented. The fast economy picking, arpeggio action, and pedal tones, and some Bach-esque, Yngwie induced, Bach induced pedal tone action. So it's a cool track.
Dude, that's
go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
That's amazing. I guess I have a few questions stemming from that.
I do too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you go ahead.
What were the main guitars in the stable for the solo record, and amps too? I'm curious about what you're using for this.
Oh, okay. So on my solo record, on some of the on a few of the tunes, I use this. This is one of my ESP Custom Shop Strats. I was and most of my Custom Shop Strats, other than the colors and all that nonsense, they're all the same. You know what I mean? Like the backwards headstock. I mean, you do get different tension with the backwards headstock.
Yes.
The top string's a little slinkier.
Exactly.
Plus, it also looks cool. You know, so that's a nice feel. And most of them have the Graph Tech nut. You know, which works good. And this one's got the locking tuners. And sometimes I'll use either like a standard vintage trem,
Okay.
or I also really like the Wilkinson tremolo.
What's the profile on the Joe Stump signature? Is it like a C, like a kind of a medium C? What?
Yeah, like back then, it's just this one's a little slightly chunkier, you know. Than,
Okay.
Let's say an Yngwie model like that.
Yes.
You know, the Yngwie model. I have a billion of those. You know, like with your killer guitars, it's kind of interesting the way. I'll get to that in a sec. But as far as this, it's kind of like a rounded C shape. But I'm not like super picky. I have a couple where the neck's slightly thinner. I was really lucky because I've been with ESP since like the late 90s. You know what I mean? I think I got my first guitar somewhere around 98, 97 from them. And they weren't as huge a company back then. So I used to get stuff in the custom shop built on a regular basis. So I probably have like close to a dozen custom shop strats from them. You know, they've been really
that's
good
so
to me.
cool.
Yeah. So, and this is one they actually, what they did with I have another guitar that's like an exact replica of this, and what they actually did was, and you know, the neck's of course scalloped, and it's got the big Dunlop fret wire like the Yngwie model, you know,
Like 6100, right? You're always using 6100 jumbo.
Always the big Dunlops, you know what I mean? Like if it works for Yngwie, you know, I'm down. You know, so what is it? It's like a kind of a cross between some of the features of the Yngwie model, some of the features of the Blackmore model, and the ESP Strats kind of walk the line between like a traditional Strat and then like a slightly more modern metal guitar. So it's got a little bit of, you know, kind of like both worlds kind of thing. And this one, what they actually did, they kind of made an unofficial Joe Stump signature model, and they called it the Vintage Plus SC. So it's an exact replica of this guitar, and except it's got silver hardware. I'm not a big gold hardware dude, but I had so many Strats from them, I just wanted to try something new, you know, something different.
Dude, it looks great on that guitar.
Yeah, it's
cool.
It's nice with it. It's got the pearl finish and then the pearl pickguard and stuff. It's
that guitar really pops, man. I mean, it's just
that's a weapon.
Compared to this, it's glistening, man. You know, it's
a weapon.
It's crazy.
Well, you can't go wrong with the traditional Olympic white. You know, I couldn't tell you how many Olympic white Strats I have. It might, you know, it might be close to 30. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, but anyway, so they made the Vintage Plus SC, and it just, you know, it's same thing but silver hardware, and it had the Yngwie Duncans in it, the Furies.
And
you know?
and that actually comes scalloped from the factory?
Like, it came scalloped from the factory, and I saw it somewhere online. Somebody sent me a link to them selling it, and you know, hey Joe, they're selling your signature model. Did you know? And then Matt Masiandaro, you know, the president of ESP, Matt just recently retired. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, they would refer to him as the Godfather, Matt. And Matt, you know, he just recently retired. I believe it was, you know, like a year ago, not even a year ago or so. And I was lucky enough. I used to just email Matt when I wanted something, and I said, "Hey Matt, it looks like you guys are selling like a signature model of mine, like an unofficial signature model of mine. Can I get one?" And he was like, "Oh yes, of course, Joe."
Oh, that's so funny, dude.
In fact, it was like ESP outside the States. They were selling it in like Europe, Japan, Australia. So I think the guy, I think the guys in the California office didn't even know about it. You know,
crazy.
Yeah, so I got one of those as well. But I use this on a couple tunes. But my main workhorses, and if you guys want, I can I can walk in the other room and get them. My two main guitars for the for the thing were the I have like, you know, as I said, I have many Yngwie models, and I have like 3 of the Yngwie 30th anniversary custom shop models.
Wow,
you
cool.
know, yeah, I have the candy red one, the sonic blue one, and the burgundy mist one.
Oh, that's so sick,
and I'll
man.
get the two if you guys want to hang back.
I'd love to see him. Yeah,
get him.
Hold on a second. Yeah, you guys have any? Plus, more people like they like to look at the guitar. Like, if you ever see you post a guitar or something, and you get a billion comments. Meanwhile, you can be playing your ass off. No one really cares. It's like more pictures of the guitar, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, feel free to grab them. We'll
hold
play
on
something.
I'll be right back.
We'll play until you get back.
So I'll be right back.
You showed me that lick. This
there
is a
you
Joe
go.
Stump
That's
lick.
a Joe Stump. That's the climb.
This is like D harmonic minor.
Yep. That's it.
Go ahead. You
No,
play
you
it,
got
man,
it.
because you really.
Jesus. There it is.
Yeah,
right there.
and like so, there's a 3-note per string / 4-note per string thing that you can do with this. For harmonic minor, right? So 4 notes on the. You start on the 7th of the scale.
Right, so you would climb up and go.
Yeah,
something
and
like that.
We'll try to get.
We'll
Joe
get him to
talk
do
about
it, and
his
he'll do it
playing.
way better than that.
Yeah,
But he's got it where it's so. And you can see, like, when he starts that up, I think he talks about it too. It's like revving the engine. Like, he's got that so dialed.
Yeah, I got the sound. Yeah, let me put the Candy Red one aside for now.
Feel free to play him if you want to, man. Yeah.
There it is.
It's so fast.
But
yeah.
Exactly. Like as soon as you pick it up, you start playing like it. You have to start playing Yngwie licks. But anyway, what was I going to say? This one I got. This is one of the first ones I. What I did was I ordered one from Sweetwater originally, and it was back. It was back, and this is like I'm talking like 2019, and it's like back ordered. And they told me it wasn't coming in for a long time. So then I looked at Empire Music, who deal like back when this first came out, there were only like 3 shops in the whole states that had them, like Empire Music in Pittsburgh, and they were all like the high-end shops that deal a lot of Fender Custom Shop stuff. So it was Empire Music in Pittsburgh, it was the Music Zoo in Farmingdale,
Great place,
like on Long Island,
Mm-hmm.
And I believe. Maybe the Chicago Music Exchange,
the
Diablo guitars out in Seattle. That's another big one.
The great
one. But anyway,
one.
so I got this from and they gave me I got a killer price on it. So I got this one from them, and this guitar, right? Like I'll show you. So this guitar has never left my house, right? You know what I mean? But like and as far as this one I love. It's really got it for like the single note action. So this one I used on quite a few tunes on the record. I used it on Full Throttle. I used it on like maybe half the record. And this, like I was saying, it's got the nitro finish,
Mm-hmm.
So now look at the back of it. And this is just from like my necklaces just banging on the back. You know what I mean?
Real relicking.
Yeah,
Real relicking.
And if you look at look at the horn there and the horn here, like, And that's just from playing. It's never seen a live show or anything like that. And this is like one of my main guitar. This is one of my best sounding Strats. It sounds killer, and it's great. It's great for the Yngwie-esque stuff, and great for the all that neoclassical fret frying action. And I really like this. I really like it quite a bit. So I use that. This has been one of my main recording guitars. And does it sound like? I mean, what's funny is one time I was, I was talking to a friend of mine, and right before I bought it, and then he sent me a video, a YouTube link to a guy doing an A/B in like the Yngwie model versus the Custom Shop model. And so it was really interesting. He was like A/Bing it and talking about all the features, but it turned out like it was this guy Marco that that from from Switzerland, and of course he used to be one of my students. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
of course.
Oh, that's so
Hey,
cool,
that's
man.
Marco, you know, so I reached out to him and stuff. Yeah, he's an awesome dude, and he has this YouTube channel. Of course, he does killer on it, but that's
Killer.
this one. And hold on a sec.
That's awesome, man. I think the Sonic Blue's my favorite.
So when after I got that one, it was like years. It was like like at least almost a year later before this actually came in. So originally, I had ordered the blue one, but since I got it already, I just changed the color. And the candy red one. The candy red one is. The candy red one has like a meaner, thicker tone, so it's killer for riff action. You know,
yes.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's got a nice single note.
Beautiful.
It's got a really nice single note tone too. But you know, as far as riff action, I use this, and I use my ESP on like some of the more metal stuff on the record and stuff. You know, especially stuff that has more riff action, more you know, like there's a tune called Hyperbolic that's a really badass tune that that was the riff I played. But that's a really cool track. That's like the second tune on the record. I use that on this. I have another one of those fast, you know, I call it the Far Beyond the Sun groove, you know, the dun da 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 dun da da. You know, of course, I have one of those on the record. I think the tempo's like 177. You know,
cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's fairly cooking, you know, fairly cooking. I had one on, what was it? I had one on my last record, Diabolical Ferocity, that was like, you know, I think it was like 207. It was called Viking Pillage, I believe.
That's fast, man.
You know what little nod to the man himself. But yeah, this one it sounds awesome, really thick for riffs, and I use that, and like the ESP I use for some of the more metal stuff on the record. The blue one's kind of designated to the more neoclassical sounding one, you know, and then for the nylon string stuff, I use, you know, and I should get a nicer one, but I have like a golden nylon string that someone just gave me, you know what I mean? That I ended up getting through somebody, and I use that. You know, there's like 2 nylon string pieces on the record, and it's really really cool. Like the first nylon string piece is just like one of those, you know, Richie Blackmore, Yngwie meet Al DiMeola, you know what I mean? Like, and it's cool. It's like this Phrygian dominant, you know, double harmonic major Byzantine kind of intro, and then it goes into this tune called Den of Vipers. And what does Den of Vipers sound like? It's got like a bit of, if you go back to the first Yngwie record, it's got a little bit of that little savage vibe to it, but it's much meaner and a bit meaner and heavier than that. You know, it's got a badass riff. It's a really cool, one of my favorite tracks on the record. It's kind of like you know, it's kind of like a more, how would I describe it? It's like a more metal, you know, like if you made Yngwie and Uli John Roth much more metal and, you know, and evil, that's what the track sounds.
That's sick, man. You know, I know Richie Blackmore has been an influence to you and going way back, but I'm kind of curious, man, like what is it about the Strat that initially like gravitated you towards that particular type of guitar? Out of all the guitars that are out there, I mean, you've been through the shred era with super strats and stuff like that. Talk about what makes a Strat special.
Well, for me, all of my heroes always played a Strat. You know, do I like other players that don't play Strats? Yes, but all of my favorite you know, Uli John Roth, when he was with the Scorpions in the '70s, he had the white Strat with the big headstock. You know what I mean? You know, Taken by Force and Virgin Killer and In Trance and you know, Flight of the Rainbow and all that classic stuff. And then
Sales of Charon.
And then, the Sales, yes, of course.
Oh, and God, I love that song.
And you know, he plays that whole riff on. plays the whole thing on a single string. Yeah, like
so cool.
And that solo's like that. You know, the sales. That's no joke. You know, and I just saw Uli back. I want to say. I just saw Uli back, you know, months ago, you know, this year, earlier this year, and he was killing it.
That's
you know?
sick.
And he played it was a long show. He played like one thing where he's playing some solo stuff with a backing track. Then he came out with the full band and played a ton of old Scorpion stuff.
That's cool, man.
Love his playing, man. Huge fan.
And the other thing he was playing, which was kind of cool, is the same company that makes the Sky guitar. You know, the Sky guitar's got like 7 strings, but he's got the higher string, you know?
Yes. Yep.
And then it's got like, I forget how many frets he's got, but what happens is as you get past a certain point on the neck, it goes up in whole steps instead of half steps.
It's crazy.
Yeah. In fact, one time I was I know him. I know him a bit, and he's actually said some very complimentary things about me. So I'm very, I'm very grateful. Said I'm one of the best guitar players from America. So I was like,
and he would never say that either, too. Like he's
like I'm not. You know what I mean?
Man.
I'm taking that. You know?
Yeah, dude.
I'm telling anybody that'll listen to that. But but of course he's like one of the giants of guitar. And always really nice. I always hang out with him when he plays it, and spend some time with him and stuff. But anyway, he was playing. But this time around, he had a couple like Strat shaped guitars. That they were more Strat. The same company that makes the Sky, and they were more like 22 fret guitars. You know what I mean?
Wow.
6 strings, 22 frets, like standard Strat action.
Cool.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. Like that. Very, which was cool to see. You know what I mean? Because they look cool as well. And but anyway, so Uli played a Strat, and then another one of my heroes, who I was completely obsessed with, because like I always think about like pre-Yngwie. I always tell everybody it's like BC and AD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So pre-Yngwie, like my dudes were Uli, Michael Schenker. So I love Michael Schenker. And me, I was more drawn to was Michael Schenker badass and cool and bluesy and like badass pentatonics action and UFO? Yeah, but I loved all the early Michael Schenker records. Because Michael Schenker with the Michael Schenker group was more, was more European, more classical stuff and all that kind of stuff. Mixing his great pentatonic action and and awesome vibrato and cool phrasing with all of the with some of those European classically influenced harmonic minor sensibilities and stuff. And the guy another guy I was obsessed with, who I was just met, is early Gary Moore. So Gary Moore, Gary Moore played everything, but like his classic tones, like Corridors of Power, Victims of the Future, the Killer Live album, We Want More. That's most of that's a Strat. Like on Victims of the Future, he played a Les Paul Jr. on a few of the tracks.
Right.
He had this old, like I think it was a 61 Salmon Pink. Like he walked the line between Salmon Pink and Fiesta Red. In fact, like the first custom shop model, it's like behind my couch that ESP made me. That I had to make it in that color. You know what I mean? Because I was such a Gary Moore fanatic. But
amazing.
Yeah, but so Gary Moore played a Strat, and of course Blackmore. I love all eras of Blackmore, all the purple stuff, all the rainbow stuff, and him. And of course Hendrix.
Man.
Like growing up, I was a huge Hendrix fanatic. Hendrix fanatic. Had all the records when I was a kid and everything. So my mother would go to like the record shop, like when it was Christmas, and she would have a little list. I need Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies. I need Black Sabbath. She's got a heavy Brooklyn accent like I do. I need Black Sabbath Volume 4.
That's so awesome, man.
Dude, that's a good mom right there. That's sick,
yeah. You know what I mean? I would make out a little list.
That's great stuff, dude.
That's cool. Your mom sounds awesome.
She
was supportive.
Purple Made in Japan. But what was I going to say? Yeah. So all my heroes, and then of course Yngwie. Yngwie play Yngwie as well. So I've always been drawn, and then when you get used to it, it just becomes a part of you because where the switch is, where the volume knob is, I mean the way it cuts into your body, and it's so and especially me, I'm definitely a 21 fret guy because and I got nothing against humbuckers or 24 frets or 7 strings or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's awesome, and it's like personal taste. It's like it's like I can't tell everybody get a pair of these babies. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what you need? You need the Python boots. You know what I mean?
Do, man. I do need those.
My feet, look how pointed they are.
Yeah, Christian's been getting into the snakeskin stuff.
I got the snakeskin amp right there, man.
Nice. Yeah, that is a cool look. But for me, I was going to say is that on a 24 fret guitar, the neck pickup sits further back, so it does sound slightly different. And I'm always even when it's the kind of thing when I have a Strat on my hand, even if I'm not playing, I start throwing the switch out of habit.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, that was one. That was one thing I always loved about just sitting up close and you hear how that you can hear the pickup selector. When I was taking lessons with Joe, just the absolute the ridiculous accuracy of the pickup selector switching for lines. Dude, you have that. That's part of your DNA, man.
Yeah, it becomes part of your DNA when you play one because when I do it, I don't even know I'm doing it. I just hear the tone in my head. Now if I was to do it, I would think about it, but when I'm playing, I just hear the tone in my head, and then I grab the pickup selector. It could be in the middle of a run, right when I'm about to go into a bend. If I think about it, you know what I mean? But it's super organic when I do that. You know what I mean? As I'm playing, I don't even know when I'm doing it and stuff. Sometimes if I'm trying to reproduce, let's say I play a killer solo on an Alcatraz record or one of my solo records, then I'll be I want to get some of that to play. I want to get some of that down so when I play it live, I'll listen for that as well. And that's something you always have to listen to when you're tracking stuff. If all of a sudden you're playing a harmony, you want it to be on the same pickup. If you're playing a harmony on a fast line, you want it on the same pickup and all that kind of action. So that as well.
Christian, you should talk about when you first met Joe. Take us back to that, and then kind of how you. I guess you took lessons with him at Berkeley?
Yeah. Joe was one of my private teacher for I think 3 semesters. I still don't know what type. I go jazz and shred. So I'm somewhere.
You like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I love fusion. You know that. You always knew that. I was studying with Richie Hart, Mark White. I had I had an unbelievable roster of inspiration there. But are you still on that 5th floor of what's that building?
Yeah. I'm still in the same office. You know what I mean? And it's got all it looks like a microcosm of my workroom. Plenty of Hendrix posters, Blackmore posters, Yngwie stuff.
Dude, back then, I mean, that was 2006 to 2008 or so, and dude, I mean, there was a really good crop of shredders at Berkeley there. You had obviously my pal Justin Tolan that I used to play, in the shred.
Yeah, Justin and
Ivan Chopik.
And Ivan's Tosin's partner in the Bossy Guitars now.
Incredible.
And, it was nice. Ivan, Tosin did some clinics, and I believe he did a master class there. And there was an Animals as Leaders ensemble, and he sat in and watched that.
That's sick.
And so Ivan was in town, so I wasn't working that day, but I made a special trip in to see Ivan. Yeah, it was great because Ivan and Justin Tolan, and
Love
there was
Justin.
another guy, Cenk.
Yes,
Olsen,
Cenk is the man, dude. Great dude.
He's still in touch with me. He'll send me texts and stuff, and I'll talk to him and stuff. He's awesome, and it's great. Those guys all met at the summer program when they were all 15.
Yes,
and they remained friends ever since. And Cenk got married. Right? I mean, now he's divorced, but you know what I mean? He's
what can you do, man?
But
more
anyway,
time to play.
He got married, and all the guys, and Ivan and Justin went to his wedding. So it was just really, really very, very cool.
That's cool, man. And you know, Justin, like he really, dude, he really took your tutelage. He was in like Guitar World when playing the neoclassical stuff when he was what, 16 or so. Like he was really, you know, he was practicing his ass off, dude. And I think,
no, it's nice. I always get like, you know, there'll always be some guys that like I've been lucky that, you know, I've gotten I've gotten guys over the years that are like super dedicated, and you know, I really enjoy working with players like that. You know, I mean, Berkeley now it's a bit more, you know, it's a bit more diverse. You know, so you have a lot of people that are like film scoring majors, MP&E majors, CWP, like production majors, songwriting, and I have one guy. He's a blazing shred dude. He studies with me, and he's a gaming major. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, dude. That's so. See,
wild.
like when I went, it was like that. I felt like it was the shred thing. Yes, there was a lot of people that were into it, but it was a small community, man. And it was like, you know, still Berkeley was a jazz fusion school.
Yeah,
like it's still a jazz mecca and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But you know, there's still plenty of metal play. I'm still like, you know, as I say to my boss, my boss is because Kim Perlick and Cheryl Bailey are the chair and the assistant chair of the Berkeley guitar department.
Nasty players.
You know what I mean? Yeah. My popularity sadly has not decreased. You know what I mean? Because I'm on salary. If I get less dudes, I work less, make the same amount of money. But like, you know, unfortunately, I'm still quite popular.
Dude, you're a killer. Dude, I mean, you're really a great teacher too, man. Like all the proficiency stuff that can be really like mind-boggling.
I'm really good at laying that out because you know, like I tell her, do I know all that fancy stuff? Yeah, but I'm kind of like a, you know, like down deep, I'm like a metal moron. You know what I mean? So I just kind of, you know, try to take a very simplified approach to everything.
Dude, what was it like when you actually studied at Berkeley? Like, were you still just playing, working on metal?
No, like when I got there, it was a different time. Like I grew up in New York, and you know, I was in my first bar at like 15 because the drinking age was 18. You know, so that I was like in my first bar. I'm like, this is awesome. You know, it's dark. I'm drinking beer. You know. You go outside and smoke weed and come back and drink more beer, you know, like the 70s. But then I was playing. I hooked up with these guys, and I was playing in my first. I was playing like in a band at like 15 and a half. And playing, and you know, I was playing like the hard rock of the day and all kinds of These guys were wired in, so they had shows, you know, playing dances and proms and stuff like that, and then playing clubs on Long Island back then. You know, the club scene was really big. That's when I was a kid in the 70s, and like. You know, like Twisted Sister. I remember seeing Twisted Sister when I was a kid, and they were still playing Lou Reed and David Bowie covers. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And then they started to play a lot of their own stuff. They got bigger and bigger. And you know, on Long Island, like a lot of the big rock clubs would be in strip malls, and then be a line like all the way around the strip mall to get into the clubs to see Twisted. Yeah.
Dude, that's right. Yes, I played one of those in a strip mall, one of those clubs. Like it
used to go all the time, and there was another very, very famous Long Island band, the Good Rats. They were like around that era, and they you know, they ended up getting a record deal, a couple records out, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I was like strictly all rock, but you know, I discovered Al DiMeola like you know, my when I was a senior in high school, and you know, so I was obsessed with Al, you know, wearing out Elegant Gypsy, and you know, I was always obsessed with guys that can play fast, you know, because Blackmore was fast in the 70s, Michael Schenker was quite technical in the 70s, you know. So I really loved both of those, and then I heard Al, and I was like, you know, obsessed. And so I get to Berkeley, and you know, everyone's talking in that crazy jazz lingo, and I can't understand what they're saying. It's like I landed on another planet. I'm like, you know what I mean? But then I was very young, so I was like, okay, well, I better get with the program here. My parents are nice enough to send me here, so at the time it wasn't all that expensive. You know, it's not like I was like, you know. like grew up incredibly rich. I mean, my dad made a nice living. He was he was an engineer with Grumman Aerospace.
Cool.
You know, one of those dudes with like the flat top haircut and a pocket protector. You know, like from the earth to the moon. You know.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, you know. But anyway, but yeah, like you know, so I was like, you know, I was learning how to play jazz and fusion-y stuff, and I was always into like the more rock side of fusion, and you know, and I did play a bunch of jazz stuff. I remember playing, like, I was a performance major, and I played Joe Pass. Joe Pass had these virtuoso records where they were all solo guitar.
That's all I listened to.
Yeah, I played Joe Pass's arrangement of Night and Day, which was like 25 pages.
Dude, did you really play that? You played that whole thing? Come on.
I played the whole thing, yeah. You know? And you know, I really
That's like impossible guitar. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
like
insane.
you know, because I practiced quite a bit. And but back then it was a real, like, it was all players. You know what I mean?
Right.
The MP&E department was in its infancy, so it was all players. And there was also like an attitude where, like, if you weren't going to practice like if you weren't going to play like 7-8 hours a day and really take this seriously, then you should get out of here and go home, because we all mean business here. You know what I mean? Like
Hell yeah.
you know, and I used to, this one guy that was my roommate. He was this guy Fred from Montreal. And he used to sleep all day and just smoke tons of black hash and never go to class, you know? so you know, maybe the whole, like, music college thing didn't really work out. But he had this awesome stereo, and he used to play, like, you know, Intermounting Flame and Birds of Fire, like, insanely loud, you know? I mean, those are the kinds of things that I was listening to, like, when I was a young fusioneer, like Elegant Gypsy, Casino, Land of the Midnight Sun, for Return to Forever, Romantic Warrior. Sick. Another great record that I wore out back in my...
Love that record.
Yeah.
Another record I wore out as my young days as a fusioneer was Spectrum by Billy Cobham with Tommy Bolin on.
Oh yeah, man. Tommy Bolin's so underrated. That's so cool.
I love Tommy Bolin, and you know, I have like tons and tons of his solo stuff, the bootleg stuff. And, you know, Tommy Bolin, he was very underrated. And it's kind of sad because most of the footage you see of Tommy Bolin is just with Deep Purple when he was kind of jumped out at the end of his career. So there's some great recordings of him, like, earlier on. But most of the video footage you see with him, he's, towards the end of his life, you know, which is kind of sad.
Totally, man. Wow, that's so interesting. That's so interesting, man.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden, you know, and I was a performance major, so I never graduated or anything, but I played a lot of classical stuff too. You know, I can't play without the pick, so I played, like, you know, some Bach inventions, you know, Moto Perpetuo by Paganini, you know, some Fernando Storr studies with pick and fingers, you know, like I played quite, and I love to read the Bach stuff, and you know, the violin, the sonatas and partitas, and you know, the different inventions and all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that, you know. But then I was like, you know, something, you know, but then I decided, like, maybe around 1981, I'm going to go back to playing nothing but metal. You know
That's
what I mean?
cool.
And it was the smartest move I ever made for me, you know, because, like, having it like even when I was at Berkeley, I lived next to Steve Vai, and Steve lived next door to me. But even back then, and you know, we were both quite serious about playing. But one thing about Steve that was very cool is Steve was already had that direction that Allan Holdsworth meets Frank Zappa, you know, in a post Van Halen kind of, you know, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Steve already had that going on. But, you know, like he was already like, you know, like in the, when he was we were both 17 when we got there. He was already in the direction that you know, his career took him, like, early on. So obviously, you know, he's a legend, so it's really served him quite well. Where, you know, maybe I shouldn't have wasted so much time with jazz and fusion and got right down to biz. I might have gotten there a little faster.
That's so wild, man.
Yeah.
And so were you playing like a hollow body then in Berkeley?
You know, no, I had a couple guitars. I had a Strat.
Okay, you're
And
still
then,
playing the Strat.
another guitar I had that a lot of fusion dudes played that was very popular was a Gibson L5S, which is kind of looks like...
No way.
Yeah, and that was like, and because I really like some of the fusiony stuff Pat Martino did.
Yeah.
And like I used to wear out Joyous Lake. And once again, Pat Martino played ripping fast, so I'm like, okay, even though it's jazzy, I'm all in.
Right. Yep. Me too. Yep.
Yeah, he was really something. Or he was something twice because then he had that thing with his brain and he had to relearn playing them, and he was badass a second time. It's like insane,
It is insane.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I think there's a documentary about that you can watch.
Oh yeah,
about
that. I'm just more. I can't. I've never heard this story from Joe. This is really fascinating to me.
Yeah, there was a ton of players back then. That all went on to do stuff. He sadly passed away, but like the great Victor Bailey from Victor played with tons of people and also with Weather Report. I remember jamming with him like in the ensemble rooms and stuff. There were, and I was just like the rock guy trying to hang on, playing with all these heavy duty, as they say, heavy cats, as they say. You know what I mean? Was I a heavy cat? No, but I was kind of faking it.
Well, dude, maybe. I mean, you put the time in, man. So when you,
I still practiced a lot back then, and the classical thing served me well. Maybe not so much, the jazz thing. That's a completely different vocabulary.
Yes.
It's cool. It's not my thing, but anybody. But there's players that love all kinds of stuff, like yourself. So
man.
I think it's cool.
Thank you. So when you made this like directional change, this I'm gonna go straight to metal. Is that when you went from to you got the Strat? Did you put on 8 to 48 Dean Markleys and pick up a Dunlop?
No. Like back when I was playing, I had like in the '80s, I was in a metal band called Trash Broadway. So so I had did I have some Strats? Yeah. I also had some ESPs. I had like an old, I had some Jackson style ESPs. I had this bright yellow M1 Custom. It was bright it was bright Corvette yellow, and it had like DiMarzio. DiMarzio had this pickup at the time that Tony McAlpine was using called the Mega Drive, which was really cool pickup. It had the blade from the X2N and the pull pieces from the Super Distortion.
Crazy.
And then it only had one pickup, so I put a neck pickup in it. So I was playing that. I was playing I had a couple 70s Strats that I had the neck scallop. I had a ESP Strat that had like a Floyd on it. I had I had a BC Rich Gunslinger.
Oh, cool axe.
I had hold on a sec. Let me see. I'll show you an interesting guitar that you guys might have never seen.
We'd love to see.
Love it.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting guitar. See this right here, right?
Whoa.
Cool.
Yeah, see this guitar right here. What happened was back in the 80s, ESP in the earlier 80s, maybe mid 80s, ESP made
crazy.
ESP made like the M1 Custom, which was like the '87 series that they did. It's got the Jackson style headstock, and it's got the one pickup and all that, and the neck through the body. Then they made the M1 Standard, which just stood for Metal One. Now this only had one pickup in it when I got it, right? It just had the one pickup and the vintage trem, and and since then I had the neck scallop and stuff, and it's not a bad. It's a cool sounding guitar. And hold on, let me see if I can plug it in.
That's crazy. That's like the precursor to the M series now. That's like the blueprint. That's nuts.
What it actually now this one the neck is like it's not thin and wide like an Ibanez, let's say. It's slightly chunkier, but it's a wide neck. And what the M1 Standard ended up being was like this has an alder body. But like this was like almost like George Lynch took this and like the Tiger the original bolt-on Tiger was like kind of like a modified version of the old M1 Standard.
Wow, Dude, this is wild, man.
This is so cool. Yeah, because I guess George Lynch was like the original ESP guy.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse the noise. Yeah, let me see.
Dude. Woo.
Yeah, like, and then...
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, this one's, it's got the X2N in the back.
Dude, that thing is screaming. That thing is screaming, man. That sounds awesome.
I'm pretty lucky today, and every guitar I picked up, I pick it right out of the boat, you know, to my right, and it's in tune still.
That was in tune, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but this, you know, I mean, I really like it. And you know, it's got a fairly deep scallop, and I got the in the neck is the Air Norton.
Great pickup. Yeah. Great neck pickup. Made my favorite.
Pickup, you know, it's real transparent. You know. Yeah, no, pretty good sounding neck pickup.
Hey, what year did the X2N come out? You know? That's all good.
Say it again.
So here, I'll ask him here.
Yeah, he would know. Joe will know.
But anyway, that's a cool guitar. I was playing that, you know, when I was in Trash Broadway, and
Hey Joe, what do you know? What year the DiMarzio X2N came out?
You know, something I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know exactly because DiMarzio,
it's like
DiMarzio, believe it or not, the very first pickup replacement company was back then, you know, like predating DiMarzio and Seymour Duncan. The two big pickup replacement companies were Bill Lawrence and Schecter.
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot Schecter.
Schecter.
In fact, I believe, you know, when you see pictures of Richie Blackmore, I believe, you know, and I think this is true, and, you know, and when you see pictures of Richie Blackmore back like during that, you know, during the Joe Lynn Turner days of Rainbow, right? You know, the latter days of Rainbow, 81, 80, you know, 82. You know, the Strat pickups that you see with the big magnets that look like Seymour Duncan quarter pounders are actually Schecter pickups.
That makes sense because they have pickups that look exactly like that still.
Yeah. I believe they were called the Monster Tones. You know what I mean? In fact, like I don't buy too many. You know, like I just bought this very interesting guitar. I just got it like a few weeks ago. That like what it was is, you know, at some point I could go in the other room and grab it. But and I just saw it on Reverb, and I'm like, this is really interesting. It's an early '80s Schecter, and you know, and it's a Strat with like a big headstock and the neck scalloped. So it's this Japanese Schecter. Like I have this one guitar that's like one of my favorite sounding guitars. I used it on the Tower of Babel record. I used it on my on this particular solo record that's coming out. I have this Blackmore. I have this Blackmore induced ballad called "In the Hall of the King," and you know what it is. It's an, you know, Edwards is a Japanese branch of ESP, and what this is it's an Edwards Blackmore Strat. I have two of them. They're really rare to find, and you know, and it just looks like the Blackmore model, except and you know, the scallop's a little deeper than the standard Fender Mexican Blackmore model. You know, I have two of those. I have two of the original Japanese Blackmore models too.
That's so cool. What
awesome,
a collection! Man. What a prolific collection to go
yeah,
with this prolific career.
Like, you know, I have like three of the early. Hold on up, you know, I'll get it. I won't plug it in, but I'll grab it. because you guys will find this interesting.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people will.
This is insane, man.
Yeah. See this, right?
Wow.
Yeah. See now, this is the first year of the Yngwie model.
Oh,
wow!
No
The
60s
yeah. So this is the first year of the Yngwie model, and this is which was in 1989. I got this guitar, and candy red, and you see back then they had the 2-screw bridge.
I see it. That's crazy.
They had the two-screw bridge.
Yeah.
And here, like, I have a couple of them. This one has DiMarzio tuners. My 2 other ones just have the regular F-holes, you know what I mean? Like the standard F-hole tuners. And it's kind of interesting because all of them, the necks are all different on all of them. Like this one, the neck is a bit chunkier. But
okay.
This is a killer sounding Strat. I use this one on my back on my early records, Guitar Dominance, Night of Living Shreds. This was one of my go-to guitars.
Cool.
And was that the first color?
Back around that era, like '94, I had this was one of my main live guitars too.
There's a picture of you with that one, I think. Yeah, I know
this one, and I have another one with I have 3 of these from the first year. I also have they also made a Japanese one that I have from the first year, which has the big headstock, looks similar to that, except it's more of the whiter white, not as aged Olympic white. And it came with like stinky Japanese pickups, and I put DiMarzios in it. Yeah. You occasionally see them floating around. They're really they're quite rare. And this was before they had the DiMarzio made the YGM, which is just the HS3 with a finished pole piece with a different pole piece stagger for the neck pickup. But yeah, I've had this guitar quite a while. I remember I was playing a show opening up the Yngwie, and I had a couple of Yngwie Strats in the stands, and I had my early 70s 50-watt Marshalls there, and he was on stage checking out my rig, and he looking at the guitars and nodding his head,
That's insane, dude.
That's wild.
That was a really cool experience. That was I want to say it was '94, so he was on the 7th Sign tour. And it was really cool because he was all done, and I was sound checking. I was playing at the Paradise, and the whole venue was empty except for him sitting at a table watching me sound check.
That's cool, man. That's surreal.
He was really nice to me. Came up to me after the show, and we were hanging and talking. Back then he was drinking up a storm. So you know what I mean.
Oh man.
So he was. I mean, it was amazing how lit up he. I was watching him sound check. I saw him drink like 4 beers just at sound check.
Jeez,
dang,
Louise.
dude.
Yeah. Back, and he's still playing his ass off. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But back then, yeah, he quit. He quit drinking quite a while ago. I want to say 2000, maybe 20 years ago or something.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, couple questions related to that guitar that you just showed us. Was that the first color? When the first Yngwie Strat came out in '89, did they offer it in different colors or just the one?
Yes, that's a very good question. No, what they did was they offered in 3 colors.
Okay.
And they were all modeled after guitars that Yngwie played quite a bit back then.
Yeah.
They offered an Olympic white, and of course the Olympic white was because of the duck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of wacky guitars, right? Hold on one sec, I'll show you. This is another one I'll show you.
This is so sick,
dude, man. That one looks cool, man.
All right, now you see this, right?
Yep.
70s?
The $12,000 duck, right?
Yeah.
Except this is, and you can see it looks just like it. It's relic the same. The edge is relic.
It looks awesome.
The neck's got the fake crack in it. But anyway, where I got this from, some guy that actually had one put this together and then sold it for $1,100-$1,200. I bought it for $1,200 on eBay. So it is it as nice as the $12,000 duck? No, but I don't think the $12,000 duck sounds $11,000 nicer.
Yeah,
no way.
Exactly.
No way.
Yeah. So what does it look like? It looks just like the duck, and what does it sound like? You know, and it's got the Duncan, you know, the Duncan Furies in it.
Yeah, the Furies.
So what is it? It's like the equivalent of like, you know, a newer Yngwie model and stuff, but it looks just like the Duck. So I was like, that's completely badass.
And was the Duck the guitar that Yngwie used on Rising Force, like his first record?
Yeah. Well, the Duck is like, that was his main guitar, you know, the Duck. You know, for many, many years, and then after it got pretty beat up, he retired it from active duty. And occasionally, you see him playing the not the actual Duck, but the custom shop replica. But anyway, getting back to it, so the Olympic white was because of the Duck. The candy apple red one was because if you see the Live in Leningrad video, you know, Yngwie had that candy apple red. What it was is a candy apple red body. You know, and that was a Japanese body. It was a Frankenstein guitar. It was a candy apple red body, and it was a 56 neck. So the candy apple red is modeled after that one. Then, you know, very early on, I'm talking like Marching Out tour, you know, because I saw him on, you know, I've seen Yngwie like just about like every tour since I saw him at L'Amour's in Brooklyn in 1985. You know, before Marching Out came out, you know, where he was just playing stuff off the first record, some Alcatraz stuff. It was the original band with the Johansson brothers and Jeff Scott Soto.
Oh, that's so epic. That would have been so killer to see.
Yeah. Like I saw him at L'Amour's in Brooklyn, and then and I saw but anyway, and then on the Marching Out tour, I believe it was Marching Out. Yeah, Marching Out tour. He was opening up for AC/DC, and this is when I was still in Trash Broadway. We had the singer worked at a music shop, so he had tickets he had like passes for AC/DC, right? So what happened was, and Yngwie was opening up. That's why I went. Not that AC/DC is a badass, but what happened was, since Yngwie was playing, the whole front section of the arena, all the first 3 rows were all like empty. So I went and sat in the 3rd row, and no one's in my way or whatever. I'm just sitting there in the 3rd row at the arena and watching Yngwie, you know. But anyway, like back then, he had an early '60s Sonic Blue Strat, and you know the real Sonic Blue. It's not quite, you know, when it ages, it's a bit paler than the one I had. It almost looks like, you know, more whitish with tints of blue. So that's why the Sonic, you know, that was another one of his main guitars during that period. So that's why the color is Sonic Blue on that.
That's crazy, man. So when did you make the move to, like, was it after seeing Ing that you made the move to like 8 to 48 strings? Like, when did you pick those up, man?
What I did, I remember distinctly, because I was watching a video of myself playing in Trash Broadway, and I was playing like an unaccompanied solo, and then I noticed when I was playing, and I'm playing some pretty badass stuff. It's not like I was a bum back then, and then and I remember just landing on a note. And, you know, back then I was ripping. So, like, when I landed on a note, it was just like I was resting until my neck's like shred lick. So you know, meaning I was like, man, I got to get my vibrato more expressive than that. I mean, it was expressive when I was playing solos, because I was a big Gary Moore fanatic and Blackmore fanatic. But you know what I mean. And then I read that Yngwie used the hybrid set, and I tried it. And I really like, you know, I love the 8 on top. I love the 14 on the G. You know, that really it helps me quite a bit. It's like that kind of thing, you know, for the high bend. You know, and you know, getting under the note and be able to grab the note and everything, it's so much easier, especially when you're making those kind of jumps.
Yeah, such insane accuracy, dude. So does the low like 48 kind of add enough tension to balance that that out? What does it feel? I've never played the low 48 on
now, Yngwie used to use 48. I used because he had a D. Markley signature.
Yes. Yes.
But no, he switched over to 46. You know what I mean?
Okay, so like a 10, like a
so it's 8, 11, 14, 22, 32, 46. So the top 4 strings are just from a standard 8, and then you have like the 32 is from a standard 9 set.
Yep.
And the 46 is from a standard 10 set.
And how does having those 2 bottom strings from the 9 and 10, does that like give a little bit more tension to where it's like, because I mean, he was saying before that these things, what does that feel like? Angel hair, like you're playing angel hair pasta?
It's like playing angel hair pasta.
Yeah. It all depends. See, I'm very used to it, so it doesn't bother me at all. And the other thing is, like, as far as like thicker strings giving you fatter tone, as Yngwie himself says, it really matters more on the low strings.
Okay.
You don't get a bit. If you're doing a metal thing, it's not like you're getting a massive tone out of a 10 as opposed to an 8 or a 16 versus a 14. But obviously the low E on an 8 set is a 38. So
that's way too small.
That's angel hair. That's angel hair.
Yeah, that isn't going to cut it like when you're talking about playing heavy riffs with balls and stuff. So it's more about it that. So it doesn't bother me at all, and I like my action on like not super low but medium low.
Okay.
And Yngwie keeps his action pretty low actually. He says he keeps it high, but I actually played one of his guitars once. He doesn't. I don't think he knows. Because I was playing on this Axis and it was a shred cruise. You know how they have those metal cruises?
Yep.
Yeah, except it was a shred cruise. It was really cool.
That's
and I was
awesome.
playing on it.
Sick.
And Zach Wilde was on it, Marty Friedman was on it.
Oh man.
Alex Skolnick was on it, Bumblefoot was on it.
Nasty.
Michael Orlando from Adrenaline. Tons and tons of really killer players. And I was doing that, and I was friends with his guitar tech Kenny. And Kenny had one of Yngwie's guitars, and he handed it to me, and I forget, he was restringing it, we were hanging out or whatever, and when I picked it up and played it, it felt very similar to the way mine feels.
Wow, that's really sick, man. And like, so were you always playing the 1.5 Delrins like from back in the day too, or?
But back when I was younger, I experimented with different picks. I had the Fender Extra Heavies.
Okay.
Because both Gary Moore and Yngwie used the Fender Extra Heavy, so it was like, okay, Gary Moore's doing it, Yngwie's doing it, I'm in. Because Blackmore always used the little tortoise shell, like it's like a rectangle with a point.
Wow. Yeah.
Hold on one sec. Let me see if I can grab it.
It's like home base in a baseball game.
Yeah.
Except slightly more rectangular. Let me see.
I'm so glad that you guys were talking about strings because I'm constantly pulling like the low E string on. I'm playing 9.5s right now on this guitar.
Yeah.
And I think I have to double check what the bottom is. I would imagine it's like a 45.
Maybe
or a
go
46.
to 4. Yeah.
But I might want to go up to like.
Try the 48.
Yeah. But also, he's tuned. You're probably playing an E flat, right, Joe?
Yeah, always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's the other thing in E flat.
Good
the
point.
guitar's got a slinkier feel. This is what the black. Somebody that's a fan of mine that's a pick collector gave this to me. This is what the Blackmore pick looks like.
Insanity.
Whoa,
insanity.
Dude, what? It does look like
that's like
base.
it's home base, or it's like from Dark Crystal, like gem.
If it was home plate, it'd be chopped off a little bit more, but kind of like that same thing, like that.
I've never seen a guitar pick
Dude,
like
what is the reasoning for that? That's nutty. Cool.
Well, Blackmore would kind of pluck, like kind of like that kind of even spoke on the waters that way. That kind of plucking motion too. I don't know. It's just that, like that was RB's kind of preference. I don't know when he started doing it, but what was I going to say? So I was doing that, and then I was Let me just check the tuning on this. close enough. What was I going to say? Yeah, and then I started using these copper picks. And the copper picks were killer for like insane for pick slides. Sounded like a jet taking off. And at the time, I remember Vivian Campbell might have been using them in the Dio, in the early Dio period.
Okay.
Vivian, like myself, is a huge Gary Moore fanatic. So I was getting some of that. But then I was noticing that they were a little bit more on the top. Like the top. The top end was a little harsh with them. Plus, they were turning my fingers green. I remember, from the copper.
Statue of Liberty.
So then I read Yngwie was using the 1.5s, and I'm like, okay, well, let me give that a shot. So I've been using them ever since, like, I want to say 1991.
Wow,
dude.
Yeah, like I use that 1.5s, and I have I have them in purple, black, and white, and with my signature on them, and it's funny because the only time I get in touch with the artist rep woman over at Dunlap is when I need picks, right? And and when you place a pick order, I mean I get artist pricing and stuff, but when I place a pick order, my last pick order was like 1,200 picks.
Yeah.
Because a minimum order is 800, and they come in 200 pick bags.
Okay.
So I got like 1,200 last time, so I'm good for a while. And, I don't really throw them out at shows. If people ask me for one, after I'm done, I'll give it to them. I usually hand out the black ones because I use the purple ones most of the time playing shows. And I have them in white, too.
And that's cool because you have, like, the deeper purple. Like, if you bought these on... If you bought them off, like,
Yeah, like, it's slightly,
It's lighter. It's a lighter.
It's slightly lighter.
It's deep purple, bro.
It's deep purple. It's deep purple. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Yeah. So so I started in '91 with them, and I've used a lot of the same stuff, for like decades now, like as far as for the new record, because I didn't talk about amplification.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I'm a huge Marshall enthusiast. I have
Joe, what are you playing through right now?
What?
Are you playing through a Marshall right now?
No, no, it sounds fairly badass, yes?
It sounds incredible.
Yeah, like what are you playing through?
Now this is hysterical with all of the gains in technology. All of the gains in technology, I'll tell you what I'm playing through, and you're not going to believe me, right? So when I remember, I have I have two Corvettes, right? I have a 90 and a 82, for last year with the Stingray. So I bought my 90 from this guitar player Corbin King, who's a friend of mine down in Atlanta, right? And don't worry, it ties into what I'm playing with. And so Corbin was a whiz when the Line 6 Pod 2.0 came out. He was really, really good with it. So he has this killer old school Marshall patch that he programmed into my 2.0 when I went down there and bought the Corvette. I brought my 2.0. He put the old school Marshall patch and programmed it in there for me, and it's been in there ever since, and it sounds killer. And I've used tons of Marshall plugins, and this one, it sounds stupid, but the Pod 2.0 puts them all to shame. Aside from playing through an actual Marshall, so all I'm playing through is that with the Marshall tone, right? And then I have this ancient crate amp from the '90s, right? But I'm just using it with a clean tone, I have this old crate amp like Chris and Pelletieri and Yngwie and Alex Massey were like endorsing it at the time. And, it had pretty good distortion back then, but I just use it as a clean tone, and I plug the pod in, and I just have like a noise gate, and now I'm just playing through the newer Yngwie MXR overdrive. But I have like a billion of the Yngwie boxes. I have the original gray DODs, the original ones.
Those are expensive
that I've had since the 80s. When I was in Trash Broadway, I was watching a videotape of, I had like a video cassette of Yngwie playing live in Japan. That's when he's playing the red, the Corso red, Ferrari red Strat. His hair's a bit curlier and stuff. If you see those videos from '85, I had that on a VHS cassette, and they showed his pedal board after, and they showed his pedal board after, and then that DOD was in his pedal board. Then I saw it in the junk bin at a music store for like $25, and I bought it. I was like, hey, it's an Yngwie pedal board. It's good enough for him. I'm getting one of these babies. And then and then I bought a second one. Now it's worth like something like $600 or some shit.
Yeah, they're expensive now,
dude.
Yeah, they're hard to
find. So I have
find.
2 of the original ones. I have 2 old gray ones, 2 yellow ones. But then I have like a bunch of the Fender ones, which are really cool. Like when I play with Alcatraz, the Fender Yngwie pedal is a little meaner, and it's got like a little bit heavier sound for riffs.
Okay.
The MXR is a little bit more classic Yngwie. So for the heavier stuff that Alcatraz does, that like I've written, that with like meaner riffs and heavier stuff, I'll use the Fender pedal, and then on the classic Yngwie era Alcatraz stuff, I use the MXR.
That's sick, man. Let's touch on Alcatraz a little bit, man. We haven't really talked about that.
We got to talk about amps too.
Oh, amps. Yeah.
So on the new record,
Go
right? My like I have like a bunch. I have tons of Marshalls. I have I have like I think 9 or 10 heads.
Yep.
And I have a 71 that used to belong to Yngwie himself. That sounds killer. That I've used on some records.
Okay.
It's a 71 50-watt that I bought at the House Guitars in Rochester, and used to belong to the man himself, which is cool. It's got the Malmsteen mojo. And then, but like my go-to amp for like years recording is the YJM the signature Yngwie YJM 100.
Okay.
And the YJM 100 is, and what it has a 50-watt, 100-watt switch in the back. And, and what is it? It sounds like because 50-watt Marshall, smooth, creamy, glassy, compressed. You think of like the Rising Force record, you think of Marching Out, you think of early Michael Schenker group records. That's but 100-watt, you think of like the 100-watt is big and powerful, like somebody smacking you in the face. You know what I mean? Like 100-watt, it's big and smashing. Like, have you ever heard any of the early Gary Moore stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he played a Strat, like, in fact, like the 100-watt Marshall that Gary Moore played on those early records, John Norum owns it now.
Wow. That's
John
crazy.
Norum owns that, and on a very famous live album, We Want More, Gary Moore played a 62 reissue, just stock. Like Gary Moore's setup back then, Strat, Boss DS1, 100-watt Marshall, and and those babies. You know what I mean? He just ripped it. And Gary Moore, he was just, when he was playing fast, he just muscling it up. You know what I mean? There wasn't talking about upstrokes or downstrokes or economy or alternate picking. There was just like, balls out, muscling shit up and going for it,
Amazing.
He wasn't all that concerned about string noise, I believe there's a bit of string noise in, the 3rd 16th in measure 4, but anyway, like, so what I use, like what I used, the Yngwie YJM 100, and but I use it predominantly on the 50-watt setting. I think on the Blackmore induced track, I used it on the 100. And then, because you can get different tones, if I use different drive boxes, I have like these Blackmore inspired drive boxes that are mid-rangey and less gainy, and I use that for the Blackmore track along with one of my Strats with true single coils. But then I use it like mic'd up in my basement, and I also use it. I have one of those Boss Wazacraft TAEs. Mm-hmm. So I play, if you guys know what that is. So you just plug the amp directly into the Waza, and in my Waza, I have like, 10 different impulse response cabinet simulations. I have like the Marshall with 75-watt Celestians, like the standard issue one. I have 30-watt greenbacks. You know what I mean? I have another one where another preset where it could be like a combination of a 420 Sennheiser 421 mic and and a 57. Yeah. So I use, so some of the stuff's mic'd up, some of the stuff is some of the stuff is directed with the Waza. And and then I use that in the combination. I know it sounds crazy with the pod.
That's so insane, man.
I actually just found like a killer that out of I just found like I have it but haven't used it yet. I just found probably the best sounding Marshall Marshall plugin that I've ever heard is made by those guys at Bogren Audio.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
The Bogren Audio guys have like a Marshall package, and it's completely legit because everybody all the plugins, like let's say is the Fractal great? Yes. Is the Kemper great? Yes. Is the Helix great? Yes. All those Neural DSP, it goes on. I'm the only moron playing through amps these days. Me and all the old school guys. Yeah,
we love them.
Well, amps are fun.
Yeah,
man.
we love
them.
I mean, I'm a more, to me, if it doesn't say Marshall on the front, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to know.
What brand tubes are you putting in these Marshalls? What's your tube brand of choice?
Same as Yngwie, the JJ Shessler.
Okay, I love JJ's.
Yeah, always with the JJs, but the Bogren package was really cool because they got a '70s Marshall and it's completely legit. And then they have the package comes with an early with a '70s vintage non-master volume Marshall. It comes with a JCM 800 and it comes with a JBM. And the 800 and the 800 and the '70s one are awesome. And I like when I've used it before and tried it before. I haven't recorded with it yet, but it sounds just like I would use it just like an old Marshall. Well, I have it just straight up, and then I turn the box on, and then I turn like the drive box on, and then that's how you get the distortion.
Sick.
And hold on one sec, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go.
I wonder if he's is he talking about plexis when he's talking about a '70s Marshall?
I think so.
What was it? Oh, but anyway, like talking about the plexi thing. Yeah, what plexi refers to, because a lot of players just think plexi means early things like non-master and small logo Marshall. What plexi really means is in '68 and '69 that Marshalls were made with a plexiglass front with a gold piece of paper behind it. The JTM 45 and a lot of the ones that Jimmy used. Those were all plexi because the front of it was plexiglass. Then in the '70s, they went to what they call brushed aluminum.
Yeah.
So yeah, none of mine are plexis. You know what I mean? Plexi.
Gotcha.
Plexi would be late, like '60, I believe '68, '69. I believe in '70. But like, someone could correct me. That's when the 100 watts were called super leads. And like in the '70s, you had the super lead, you had the Mark II. The Mark II was the or another term for it, like let's say the early '70s 50 watt Marshalls that Yngwie would play through back in the day were they call it a big box 50.
Cool.
Okay.
And non-master big box 50, and that's one thing I really like about the early Yngwie is very like Yngwie uses the 100 watt setting now exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
More recent Yngwie is all 100 watt action. Like where his tone back on the earlier records, Alcatraz, Steeler, Marching Out, Rising Force, Marching Out, Trilogy, that was all 50 watt action.
Gotcha.
No kidding, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never knew that. Yeah, I was curious like what exact models that he used, but I think you just covered that. The big box 50.
I would imagine, just like your standard, like, some of those early '70s, '50s, and I believe back then, I don't know, I don't know, somebody would know, like when he started using DiMarzios, because in Alcatraz he was using the FS1. The DiMarzio FS1, which is a killer sounding pickup, but it's a true single coil, so it's noisy as hell. I have it in some of my. I have a Blackmore model over there with it in the neck. It sounds great.
That's sick, man.
Yeah, but what was it? But like, see, like this is just like my tone straight up, no dry box. Yeah, like just sounds like an old Marshall. You could see a pretty badass tone, just like
sounds awesome. Like sounds super organic.
Yeah, like an old Marshall, and then when I was playing before, just step on the noise gate in the drive box, and pretty much my tone is just like that's the way my tone is. If I want to clean things up, I just roll the volume back.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing, man. I mean, you've been so generous with your time, Joe.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, like I said, you don't have to. Plus, since I've been around a while, I have all these interesting tidbits, like the early Yngwie model, and then the story of the early Yngwie model, and that ESP that's like a fairly rare guitar. Like those, you don't even see anywhere. You don't see them on Reverb or eBay or the early Yngwie models you see, But now people pay big money for those. I mean, back when I bought it, it was like a it was like a $900 guitar or something like that. In fact, I remember when I bought it, I was like, and because even in my later 20s, I was like, in my later 20s, I'm trying to think when I bought it. Yeah, later 20s, back then. And I had no bank account. I was living out of the money in my drawer. I was given lessons and tendon bar, and anytime I just lived out of the money in my sock drawer. and luckily I knew one of the girls that worked at the store, so she let me pay like half of it and then take the guitar and pay the rest off.
That's
amazing,
awesome,
man.
dude. That's how to do it, man. That's how you have to do it sometimes. I've done
that
before.
Yeah. So like back then, it's before I built the empire, So
the shred empire, man.
Dude.
That's but I mean, but it's but yeah, that's a great guitar. I have like quite a few. I have them from all the different eras because they had the early ones with the big head, with the small headstock. Then they went to the big headstock in here I'll show you guys. But let me know if there's anything else you want to talk about. I can let you guys get let me know how much longer you're gonna go. But see this one right here. This is when they first went to the big headstock in '98. And this is it from '98, and they went to the big headstock, and you could see there's no bullet.
Yeah.
Yes, the no bullet.
It came with
Very similar to this one.
this with the mint green pickguard.
Well, this one's
that
and
has
the other thing that's really interesting, and then I have another one over there. I'll grab it in a sec.
I love the mint green, man. I'm really particular to that.
The mint green's cool. They they came with the DiMarzios. This is when they had the This is when they had the YJM, so they came with the YJM and the HS3. And then hold on one sec, I'll grab it.
I could literally talk to Joe for
Joe is a man of
I feel
our
like
own.
we could drink a beer and just talk for an eternity about guitar stuff. I do want to ask Joe some technique.
We have to get into
just
that.
a couple
we
technique
absolutely
questions.
have to talk about that. I want to talk about the Alcatraz tour too.
Yes.
And this one, so this is the last guitar show. This is when they first went to the Bullet Truss Rod, when they still had the DiMarzios and they went to the Bullet, and they also went to the machine screwed neck plate.
Wow.
But like if you were to look at this, you can't really see it on the computer, but like the difference in the cut of the body between this and the newer Yngwie model is like night and day.
Really?
Okay.
The newer Yngwie model, the cut on the body is much less rounded. It's much sharper. It's quite a bit different than and you can see this one I've had I want to say early 2000s I got this. you know, and you know, you could see it's like slightly aged, you know, good sounding guitar. It's got the DiMarzios in it. But anyway,
it's very cool. Yeah. So there's actually another guitar player that we had on the show last week. His name is Serge Drobon. He's got a YouTube channel. He's very much into, you know, like the neoclassical shred thing, and he's a huge fan of you, Joe. And he was floored when I told him that you were coming on the show. And so he sent in a couple questions, if you don't mind me asking. This is kind of related to your technique.
okay.
So the first question that he has is, when you were developing your picking style, how much conscious thought went into it, or was it simply something that was intuitive to you? Like he just,
no conscious thought whatsoever. You know, like because I was doing, you know, I do the economy picking thing. You know, let me hold on. I gotta put the box
take your
back
time.
on if I'm gonna attempt to play. You know, but I'll do some slow demonstrating. But yeah, like because I was doing you know, because I was doing the because people would say, "Oh, you're doing that economy picking thing that Yngwie's doing," and I'm like, "Economy, you know, like the down, up, down, down, up, down," and I'm like, "I am," and they'd be like, "You're doing that thumb thing he's doing too." I was like, "I am." That's awesome. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of like a happy accident. I didn't know, you know, and then after I knew. You know, like when I knew. Play it better.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't really, you know, think about it or anything like that. So I guess kind of but then after I was aware of what I was doing, I started to develop it more. One guitar record that, other than Yngwie, you know, I loved Yngwie and of course all the European players I mentioned. But one record that really like had a huge impact me as far as killer fast guitar was the Christian Pelletari's Black EP. You know, and the Black EP. I remember you had to send away for it in the guitar magazine. You know what I mean? You cut out the little thing in the ad, and you go to the joint, get a money order, and mail it in, and you get the and you get the record in the mail. You know, this
That's
is like,
incredible.
You know, and you know, I learned a bunch of stuff on that, and back then Chris has switched and only alternate picks, and he does some crazy hybrid picking, but he was doing some of that, I believe, back in the early days.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, and you were doing all this, and you know, everybody has the tendency now, you know, obviously you're on what's it called?
The Troy Grady.
Yeah, the Troy Grady
Troy Grady thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like
everyone breaks all this stuff down to the minutia, but I mean, you weren't learning from any, you know, you didn't have every single step.
It seems like he arrived at the technique just to try to play the sounds.
I was just playing stuff, and then as I started to, you know, instruct more, I got more conscious of it. Now, of course, I'm super conscious of everything, you know, for instructional purposes. And you know, I kind of many times, like I'll examine things when I'm you know, if all of a sudden something's giving me trouble, and I'll kind of break it down and see what the story is, you know, like execution wise. But a lot of times I just kind of naturally play it.
Yeah.
And you know, I was learning a lot of those, and you know, I knew all those. You know, I figured out all those Yngwie fingerings. You know, the 4, you know, the 3/4 and the 4/3, and
I love that
minor.
stuff. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
You know that one, and then you know the one that starts on the 4th degree. That's like 3 notes on the lower string, 4 notes on the.
Yes.
And then the mixed minor thing that. Yeah, because you got.
I love that one.
You got regular natural minor.
It's like a circle.
Natural minor, and then you have harmonic minor. And then you know you just put the leading tone and the regular 7th in there.
Right there it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that kind of thing. And see, there, like now I know how I'm picking it, right? But I didn't back then, because the guys that break down, the Yngwie thing, what Yngwie would do is he'd go like down, up, down, up, pull, and then and then play the four, the,
1, 2, 3,
the
4.
note with the 4 strings on a downstroke, so down, up, pull, down, up, like that kind of thing. Like that, and set them up to cross over on a down.
Always starting on downstroke.
I started on an upstroke and then just started on an upstroke and then picked everything.
So you're picking. So when you're doing the 3-note and 4-note groupings, you're basically starting on an up and alternate picking.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
I just go up, down, up, down, up, down,
yes.
up, like that.
Alternate picking. That was one of, I have to say, Joe, that was probably one of the most useful things that I learned from you, because it showed me, and I noticed this in a lot of jazz too, because obviously, I mean, I love Martino too, and like all these guys, but they play diagonally. So what I mean by that is they play like that 3-note, 4-note thing in octaves, and you can see it all the way diagonally down the fretboard.
Yeah, you can do it with any scale too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you can do it with the, you could do it with
melodic.
Melodic. That's one thing I've kind of, and then of course Hungarian.
It works out perfect for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then same thing, and then the one that starts on the 4th degree of the scale, where it's just 4, 5, and flat 6.
Yeah.
You play one of those, and then I kind of went down that one, then I went up the mixed minor, then I went up, and then I went down that one, you know what I mean? And then a lot of the ascending shapes that I play, like when I'm ascending, combination of like 3-note per string and all the hexatonics,
Yes.
Because especially in Hungarian minor, some of the spacings are fairly crazy, because the root 1 3 notes per looks like this. That's no picnic. You know what I mean? But like but like with the hexatonic, or the Yngwie adaptation. Or same thing here, like Hungarian.
Yes.
Damn, dude.
Dude,
wow.
I think, and I love the spacing that when you play it like that, playing like, I call it just playing diagonally, but like, to me, it sounds more vocal and fluid. I love how that's spaced out.
Yeah, well, you can plug in different, like with Hungarian minor myself, when I, like Hungarian minor, I tend to use it more, like I use it for cool Blackmore-induced, evil Richie Blackmore, like demonic Richie Black, like more metal, what do I sound like when I use it? Kind of like a demonic, more metal Richie Blackmore, when I play it. And then I also use it for like medium fast things. Because like if you play like super fast with some of the spacings in the scale, if you play super fast with it, it'll sound kind of out, which some players like, you know what I mean? But it can get like a little like weird, to me, the character of the scale gets lost a little because it's like, it just sounds like a crazy chromatic lick,
Yes.
But you do get some interesting spacings with Hungarian minor, because on many of the 3-note per string fingerings, you'll have like symmetrical shapes on like various string pairs. Like if you play, does it have modes? Well, all scales have modes, but harmonic and Hungarian minor, it's not like the major scale or the jazz minor. You know, obviously, linear augmented sounds quite a bit. Linear augmented, the third mode of melodic minor, sounds quite a bit different than the altered scale. Sounds quite a bit different than Mixolydian flat 6, the fifth mode or whatever. But where harmonic minor, you play all the modes of harmonic minor. They just all sound like harmonic minor.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, that's Locrian natural 6, the second mode.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
4. It just sounds like harmonic. It's like, dude, it's harmonic minor. Oh, I was working in Lydian sharp 9. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just sounds like you played harmonic minor over a major 7 chord.
Yeah, that's always how I thought about it anyway. I never break it down.
Yeah, but that's why in a jazz context, not as many jazz players use harmonic minor because because it's got such a strong sound. All of that stuff, knowing about scales for jazz players, it all comes down to scale choices over chords. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Yeah, dominant, major 7 sharp 5.
Oh, yeah.
What do jazz players play? Lydian augmented, of course.
Right.
Or you could play Lydian augmented, or you could play Lydian augmented sharp 9. What is Lydian augmented sharp 9? The 6th mode of the harmonic major scale. That's if Lydian augmented wasn't quite jazzy enough for you. We have something that's even a bit more jazzy.
That's really funny,
Love it, man.
Sick.
Serge had another question kind of about the right hand stuff, and I'll just read it to you verbatim, like what he said. So upon studying your right hand technique, it falls into a certain category of players that are rare and how they play similar to my own style, which involves using the downward pick slant and supinated right hand position. Do you choose to only economy pick forward and alternate pick backwards, using the pull-off method, similar to gypsy jazz players?
I don't do any pull-off action unless I'm purposely, doing like a legato thing. You know what I mean? Like, play a little better.
Okay.
Yeah, see that? But yeah, like me, I only alternate pick ascending, and if I wanted to generalize, I would say anytime I'm playing more than one note on the following string, I'll cross over on a down, where if I'm playing one note and crossing back, I'll alternate.
Yeah,
okay.
I get that.
If I was playing, I'll play it very simply. If I in E harmonic minor here. If I was playing that lick there, and would I recommend this to players? No, it's kind of messed up, but this is the way I do it. I play alternate, and then I go. So that's all, just alternate, starting on a down, and then I play down up, down up, down up, down, down up, down. Play it slow. Like that.
Right. So you have the
see that I
the two downs. So you have the two downs.
Insane. Yeah.
Yes, because I've always loved how you do the two down thing, because I think you have that, it makes your picking so articulate. You're using gravity, when you have that downstroke, it's just natural gravity propelling the pick. I think it sounds more like badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like with economy picking, I guess with the extra downstroke ascending, it's going to give you more balls and sound a bit more aggressive.
Yes.
And it's got a certain sound to it.
Yes.
And, because everybody could talk about ups and downstrokes and hammer-ons and pull-offs and all that nonsense. The bottom line is what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I mean, somebody plays something that sounds badass. What are you going to say? Oh, yeah, but he played an extra pull-off in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, but, I saw him hammer on 2 notes there. I mean, if it sounds killer, we don't care. We just we just listen and watch. But what I was going to say is, and then I would imagine when you're doing the economy picking thing descending like Kambali does, it goes up down up, up down up down down. It's going to give you a bit more of a legato kind of sound,
yes,
because you have all those extra ups in there.
Yes,
which is cool. You know what I mean? I mean, Frank invented it. You know what I mean? So like to him, when somebody asked him, he said, "Well, why wouldn't I do it descending?" You know what I mean? And somebody asked Al DiMeola about economy picking, And Al said, economy picking? He goes, is there first class picking too? Or business class picking?
What a response.
Al's strictly alternate. And, Al's from he's from Jersey City, so he kind of talks like me, you know what I mean?
He's from Jersey, man.
That heavy East Coast accent, you know what I mean? You think he's this elegant fusion dude, but he kind of, he kind of has that gruff kind of,
I love it.
Like we all talk East Coast accent thing. But yeah, I remember watching him do a clinic once, and Al doesn't even believe in pull-ups. He thinks that's cheating.
He does say that. He's crazy.
But,
he says it.
Yeah. So one thing that amazed, I've seen Al because I saw him back, many years. I saw him when I was younger. Talk about a guitar bill. Al was the headliner. Supporting Casino, and the opening band was UK with Allan Holdsworth.
Crazy, man. So you went to that show?
Yeah, Calderon. UK opening up for Al DiMeola, Calderon Concert Hall in Hempstead, New York.
Insane.
So how did that impact you, man? Like.
Well, Holdsworth I had seen a bunch of times when when he was still very much inside. He was fusiony, but he still played a lot more inside stuff. I saw him back when I was when I was at Berkeley and I was a student. Playing the Red Charvel and the very heavily distorted tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him with UK, and fairly monstrous. And then, Al came out, when Casino, I was wearing out Casino at the time,
unbelievable.
Pretty epic.
That's a guitar night.
Well, earlier.
That's some heavy lifting. There's some heavy lifting going on there for sure.
Jeez, man. At the beginning of the interview, you mentioned how there was before Malmsteen and then after.
Yeah.
Just from your perspective, going through that era of guitar, just share what it was like, man. What were people talking about? Like what was going on in the magazines and on the radio, with your friends, You had the Shrapnel label at the time, of course, because you had Yngwie come out, but then you had then I think next out of the gate was Tony McAlpine out of the Shrapnel gang with Edge of Insanity. And then and Vinnie Moore with Mind's Eye, great, both great records, great classically influenced playing. Mm-hmm. Joey Topolo out of the Sun, but Gilbert was doing a lot of heavy lifting on that one, I believe. Like he played some stuff, Joey Topolo, but what was I going to say? But I believe he had, and then of course the first Racer X album, Street Lethal, that was killer, Paul was like deadly. He's still deadly, Paul. You know what I mean? He that was deadly. And then I also liked back then. I liked all these obscure guys whose records were hard to find. Like there was this guy. I remember there was a guy, Jack Starr, that played. That played in Virgin Steel, that had a bunch of solo records. And he had this iconic metal record called Out of the Darkness, and that was pretty because I remember reading an article, and he's from Long Island, so I remember reading an article, and it says in Europe, Jack Starr is often mentioned in the same breath as Richie Blackmore and Gary Moore, and I was like, what? I got to check this dude out. So Out of the Darkness was his first solo record. This is pre-Yngwie days, Post Yngwie was all those Shrapnel records I mentioned. Yeah,
but I always like the under the radar guys when they had to where you had to go to the import record store to find their records and everything. And for me, another guy was David Chastain. David Chastain was on the in the early days of Shrapnel. Dave was on Shrapnel.
You know who that is?
No.
He's got a really interesting sound.
The Black Knight and Ruler of the Wasteland were on Shrapnel. And then Dave defected and started because he wasn't happy. Let's just say he wasn't happy with the arrangement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Mark Marty was talking to you on the phone and ordered a pizza as he was talking to you, it was coming out of your end.
Oh, jeez, man.
Like that kind of thing. But David started Leviathan, and then it was really quite an honor because it was really cool because I was like, I had bought, I was a fan of David's and like, bought a bunch of his records because he was like this snaky kind of, we had some of the Yngwie harmonic minor stuff, but he was like, he was more legato, so very much legato, kind of like an evil metal Holdsworthian kind of thing, but very inside,
Yeah.
Minor, harmonic minor. He had a cool record. I loved instrumental variations and Within the Heat. So I was a big fan of David's, and then I got signed to the label, and then we became really good friends, and we talked to him on the phone for like tons of, I was really lucky that early on in my career when I signed with David, he really he's a great guy, and really it showed me the ropes in the business, and I'm really fortunate that I've worked with some really nice people, like business wise. I remember getting my first royalty check from Night of the Living Shred, I finally opened a bank account and didn't have to go into my drawer anymore.
First time. That's
dude.
Sick, bro.
Man, that's so sick when the guitar is paying the bills, man, or you get
like it was a big deal, And then back then there were the print magazines. They used to take articles out of the print magazines, and I would get like some small features in Guitar World and Guitar. They had a magazine called Guitar School. I still and I was in that Young Guitar magazine in Japan. I remember I was in like the top 10 for best new talent back then.
That's
It
awesome.
was a cool time. And this was even in the 90s, I was making my early solo records in the height of the grunge period, and back then it was kind of but it kind of served me good. Like people were like, what's wrong with this dude? Making this kind of record now? But like there were people that wanted to hear that kind of stuff, so it kind of served me well, because people were starved for that kind of thing.
So sick.
Yeah, and so you were able to like make records and people wanted to buy them.
Yeah, and I used to get checks. People bought my records. I would get checks. I would get royalty checks. I'm still getting royalty checks. I can't complain.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, that's
my back catalog is still generating. Is it enough to live on? No, but and I have I have all my recordings. Plus, I have 2 books out. Joe Stump's Metal Guitar Chop Shop and the Sweet Arpeggio book. So get royalties from that. So I can't complain. The empire's moving along nicely.
Dude, that's so good to hear.
And
man.
you added Alcatraz to that too, man. That's like massive.
Yeah, I got the email like in 2019. Hey, we're reforming Alcatraz. With Graham Bonnet and Jimmy Waldo, original members. Are you interested? And I'm like, yeah. Of course I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And then I went, I pretty much got the gig. I mean, they were trying out different guys. One of the guys they tried out was Jeff Young, that used to be in Megadeth. But Jeff Young, and Jeff Young says that he turned the gig down, but that isn't true. Like he couldn't actually play the Yngwie stuff, and as soon as they got me, as soon as they found out I was interested, it was like, sorry, dude,
Yeah, you're perfect.
But they also needed somebody that could play all the Blackmore stuff too. So like one thing that was like kind of like a crowning career achievement was I went to Japan back then with Alcatraz in 2019, and then one night in Tokyo we played the entire No Parole Alcatraz record, along with some Rainbow and Shanker stuff. And Impellitteri, we played a bunch of Impellitteri stuff with too, because I'm a huge fan of Chris's.
Me too.
So I wore out like Stand in Line and the Black EP, and I still have all Chris's new shit's killer. Just a killer player and an incredibly nice, wonderfully nice guy too. But anyway, yeah. So and then we played another night. We played the entire Rainbow Down to Earth record, and then they recorded them for a live album. Yeah, the live album is like one night only live in Japan, and it's on Spotify and Apple Music and all that nonsense.
Sick.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw some
but
clips.
I think they reissued it. They issued it on vinyl, like maybe in the UK or something.
Very cool.
But that was very, very cool. It's like, okay, recording all this, a whole record of Blackmore, a record of Yngwie, no pressure.
Dude, you're the perfect man for the job, man.
I believe he is.
It was very, very cool. In fact, another thing that was really cool was after I got done playing the night that, like when we were finishing up, Impellitteri was playing in Japan, and Chris didn't make it to our show, but a bunch of the other guys were like Rob Rock and Patrick that used to play with Patrick Johansson that used to play with Yngwie. He was playing drums with Chris. He was playing with drums with Chris. They all came to the show. We all hung out after the show, And then I went to see Chris like the following night in Japan, which was awesome. I went to see Chris play, and that was great. And then we all went out to dinner afterwards with the record cup with the promoter. So it was a really cool thing.
Man, growing up, I listened to literally every Impellitteri record. I had them all on CD.
He's crazy, dude.
Driving around in my car, such good stuff.
I still play. I transcribed the solo in Burning, and I still play that. I'll still play a bunch of the different stuff for different picking things. I'll play like Stand in Line, the Secret Lover solo. I'll play Lost in the Rain. I'll play Burning, you know what I mean? I'll be like, all right, pick it. If I want to all of a sudden practice something else that isn't mine or whatever. Or sometimes, I adapt different picking patterns, and I'm always stealing stuff from everybody. You know what I mean? And putting it into my arsenal. So I'm always listening to things and stealing things. It's like, okay, I got what's going. A lot of times I'll learn stuff, but then I learn what's going on conceptual. The old school thing where you learn what's going on conceptually,
and then
you turn it into like a bunch of licks of your own.
Yes.
So I'm still adding to the adding to the arsenal and trying to up my game.
That's
amazing, man. Yeah,
it's so sick, man.
That's so cool to hear.
Are you practicing like what's your daily practice regimen like in terms of hours? How much are you putting in per day?
Well, I mean today it all depends on what I'm doing. But today I gave a lesson from 1 to 2, and then I was pretty much then I started playing like maybe around 2:30. And then I was playing a bunch of hours right up until it was like maybe 10 to 6. Then I started to set up for this, So I started out just practicing. I'll practice different things, I'll practice different picking patterns. And then Alcatraz is playing we're playing a festival in Spain in a few weeks, like first weekend in September. So
perfect.
I hadn't played we hadn't played since the Scandinavian European tour that ended last November, December. So I started to dust off a bunch of that stuff for an hour or so right before. So yeah, I'm always playing. I'm always on it. Just like yourself. I'm a massive Christian. I'm a massive Yankee fan. So I'll sit there and play 4 hours during the day and then I'll sit there and play during most of the game too.
Dude, that's the best way to do it, man, because then you can start, you can go into your subconscious and just
like sometimes I come up with a lot of cool riffs and melodies while I'm watching the Yanks. So
Joe, when are we going to see you play the Star Spangled Banner at a Yankees game?
Oh, dude, we should set that up.
How can we make that happen?
We will. I'll try to make it happen.
That would be awesome. If the Red Sox ever asked me to do it since I lived here, the only way I would do it is if they were playing the Yankees and I'd wear a Yankee hat.
That's New York right there, bro.
Insane thing ever.
This is a very cool story. During the filming of The Departed, if you've ever seen that movie, The
Great
Departed,
movie.
Of course.
Towards the end, if you notice, Jack Nicholson is wearing a black plain baseball hat. The reason he's wearing that black plain baseball hat is Jack Nicholson's from Jersey. He's a huge Yankee fan. They asked him to wear a Red Sox fan. They asked him to wear a Red Sox hat in the film, and he refused.
Dude, he's from Glen Ridge, man. That's absolutely right.
Exactly. So Jack knew exactly what what would I do? Exactly what Jack did.
Amen, bro.
Some serious stuff,
dude. It is like that, man.
Wow,
massive rivalry. Dude,
unbelievable.
Joe, will they turn it around this year? You think Lombard's the real deal or what?
Well, it'll be interesting to see, and they're starting to come around a bit more, but like Stanton and Bellinger and Judge come back,
Yep.
within the next month, probably like Stanton and Bellinger maybe in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then 99 comes back, and if he's himself, I mean that they should be in pretty good shape
For the playoffs, yep.
they should be in pretty good shape because their starting pitching is killer, and the bullpen's quite good.
Yep.
And they all like with Lumbo, like I really like Caballero quite a bit.
I like him too.
I really liked him. I kind of feel bad that he kind of got his spot taken, but Lombard is a great fielder. And especially, I can understand their way of thinking that they're not lately. That the offense has been kind of crap. Since '99 went down.
Yes.
They're just as he goes, so do they go. But a bunch of the guys are starting to come around, have some better at bats. So we'll see what the story is. They're playing Toronto now on Apple TV. So when I turn the game on after this, if they're winning, I'll be glad. If they're losing, I'll be glad I didn't see
it. Dude, along the same lines here, I gotta just get your take on this, man, because I know you're obviously from New York. I'm from Jersey, and I know we've talked about this before, but to me, there are only two legitimate pizza places in Boston: the OG Regina's and Santarpio's.
Yeah,
care to weigh in?
Yeah, as I like. Yeah, both. I live in Medford, and
okay.
Medford is, Medford's got a lot of Italian Americans, so there's a Regina in Medford. And as I say, as far as Pilgrim Pizza, it's pretty good,
Pilgrim Pizza.
As far as the Pilgrim Pizza goes, it's good compared to pizza you get in other parts of the country, but of course, is it like in New York, there's so many great places, you have of course Lombardi's.
Oh yeah.
But and then you have like I've never been to it, but Totonno's in Brooklyn.
That's a class. Yeah, that's one of the best.
And then another good place is Arturo's. But then like people that really know, or John's on Bleecker.
John's on Bleecker is sick. That's great.
Or there's another one. There's a John's in Times Square. Which is good because like that then like because the John's on Bleecker is like insane.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a line like down the block to get into the John's on Bleecker. I know because like I love all those craft beers like the double and triple IPAs and everything. And like one of New York City's best beer bars is the Blind Tiger Ale House, which is right there directly across the street from John's.
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes I go there and throw. Yeah, I'm going to go to the city this week.
Oh, sick, man.
Because I'm off for a few days. So visit a couple of my favorite craft beer joints, and I also wear a lot of the Great Frog stuff. There's a great the Julie joint. So I go down there. That's on the Lower East Side.
Cool. That's cool, so man. Sick, man.
Yeah,
Christian.
Like on Orchard Street, the way Lower East Side, like all the way down. It's a trek.
Cool area. Yep.
Yeah, lower side. Yeah, I like back in the '90s. I used to hang out like I used to hang a ton in the East Village. Go hang out there, go vacation there, go shop there. It was quite a different time back then.
Totally, man.
Yeah, it'd be amazing to.
Yeah, now it's all overrun by NYU students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody's like walking down the street, like looking at their phone. Where if that was 1991, their phones would have been snatched out of their hands. But yeah, but it was a pleasure, fellas.
Dude, Joe,
thank you so much
for the
man.
generosity.
This was so cool.
Oh,
yeah, man.
It was fun. It was fun, but yeah, like I said, you don't have to twist my arm to play guitar, and then answered a few technical questions and did a little rip and damage, so it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, man, you want to just plug or tell everyone where they can check you out and maybe announce the new record one more time? So.
Oh, sure. My new single is called Full Throttle. It comes out on Tuesday, August 18th. So by the time this airs, that'll be out. And, and so the single will be out. And I did like a music video for the single where I'm doing, where I'm synced along with the track. But it's very cool. I shot some of it in front of my Marshalls. I shot some of it with a GoPro, so you could really see all the pick angles and everything like that, And they did a nice job editing it. But then I did an actual real play along where I'm really performing the track that I'll release. Anytime I release a single, off of the record, I'll release like a full on play along where I'm legit playing the tune, So I've already done 2 play-alongs to 2 of the tunes on the record. So those will come out, and the record itself comes out October 16th, I believe, Lord of the Strings. And so keep an eye out for it. And I got next big thing. I got some regional shows because I have a Rainbow tribute band, Black Knight's Castle, so I'm playing with that. And then I have a Deep Purple tribute band, Stormbringer, so I'm playing with that. And then I have I'll have some solo shows, but Alcatraz is doing a UK tour. I think the first date's November 26th, but just, not like a super long one, but I think like a dozen dates in the UK. So that's on the slate for later this year. And then 2027, new Alcatraz will come out. So business as usual.
Dude,
killing it, crushing it.
So great. This was such a blast, man.
Such an honor, dude, and it's great to see your face and hear your voice in kind of person again, man.
Yeah. If I'm ever in the area, if ever in the Jersey area,
Yep, definitely, man.
We'll have to hang out and throw a couple back.
Always, man.
That would be amazing. Joe, it's great to meet you. All right, fellas,
it was a pleasure. Be good now, and keep me posted.
Joe, you're the man, dude. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks a ton, fellas.
Peace, man.